Hi, Eric here with 30x40 Design Workshop. Today I'm going to be doing a quick book review of Cape Cod Modern, Mid-Century Architecture and Community on the Outer Cape. It's written by Peter McMahon and Christine Cipriani with a foreword by Kenneth Frampton. Now it's about 270 pages. It's about $30 on Amazon and only available in hardcover. It's got wonderful full-color photos, which is sort of rare on some of these historical books, especially mid-century modern architecture. It also includes a number of floor plans and renderings, and it opens with a brief history of architecture on Cape Cod, moving all the way from the Native American Waitus all the way through the architecture of the mid-century modernists, ending in about the 1970s. So it doesn't pick up real contemporary architecture. But where this book excels is in its narrative quality. It begins, one of the opening chapters begins with a foreword by Kenneth Frampton, but then it begins by saying Walter Gropius was tired. Now, Walter Gropius founded the Bauhaus Design School in Germany, and the story really opens with him decamping from Dessau to Berlin, and then on to London, and then finally on to the United States, where he received a full-time professorship at the Harvard GSD. He was looking for a new place to express the ideas of the Bauhaus Design School, and he found, he actually ended up vacationing on Cape Cod, and he found the Cape really ripe for experimentation. And the book is mostly a description of various architects' experiments on the Cape. The Cape, a lot of the projects in here are projects that lack clients, and the ones that do have clients were really some bold and daring clients. And so these projects really were experiments. They were places for the architects and designers to experiment, to try things, and because they lacked clients, they were free to fail. And some of them were abject failures. I can definitely see that here. But it's really a wonderful narrative about designers who are exploring a new world and looking for a new expression of their ideas. Okay, I wanted to talk about what I think is really a standout project in the book, and it's the Hatch House in Wellfleet. And it was completed in 1962, and it was designed by self-taught architect Jack Hall. And this home's plan and the structure was inspired by chicken coops, which were converted into sleeping quarters on a nearby property for the client. And so the separate structures, although extremely small, expanded the perceived space of the home by fostering privacy where previously there was none. So that was the idea of this sort of chicken coop used as a place for sleeping, converted into sleeping quarters here. So Hall, the architect for this project, applies this Misesian sensibility to the idea of separate structures, dividing the living spaces from the master suite and further from the guest quarters here. Each building was rigorously composed of a module, a grouping of modules, 7 foot by 7 foot by 8 foot tall. The walls were framed with 2x4s and the roof was framed with 2x6s, and it was set on this slender sort of concrete pier foundation. Now the pier foundation allowed the building to hover above the ground, much as the piered structures in the harbors in Wellfleet and Provincetown did. And this idea actually is reinforced by the sort of structure of the boarding here. You can see instead of having the boards lay flat here, they've turned them vertically. And what that does is really dematerializes this deck and allow you to sort of see down to the ground beneath. And it also allows the breezes to sort of come up through the center of them too. You can see here to the left is the living suite here, and this is the master suite. And it just sort of sits very lightly on the land and allows you to view back out to the forest there and the surrounding water. Now the modernists learned from the early Native American Waitus by adapting this sort of frame and skin concept to a more modern idiom. You can see the frame here and then the skin that's applied to that frame. Really wonderful shots that you can see in this book. This is the client here, and she actually stayed in this, even though there was just a wood stove in the sort of main living quarters. She would stay here into November, drawing and painting out in the sand dunes out here. So really, you know, these photos are not devoid of life, and that's one of the things that I really love about this book. So you can see again here the frame and skin concept that's happening. And they really work to sort of dematerialize this sort of frame. And they would add, in this particular project, pivoting screens and large openings. You can see there's a really great shot of one of the bedrooms that utilizes this. You can see here the pivoting screen here. And here you can see in the bedroom, this whole wall sort of dematerializes and opens up with this pivoting sheltered screen. And they couldn't find screens large enough for these openings, so they actually would sew the screens together. But you can see frame and the skin has different layers to it. Really wonderful marriage of a sort of old idea about huts. You know, if we look back in the beginning of the book, they show the sort of way-to hut here, which is formed of cedar saplings that form this sort of shell of this home. The indoor-outdoor relationship is complex, it's changeable, and really it's that dynamic that really draws me into this project. It's such a simple gesture in the larger landscape. You can see here the project's here sitting. Initially when it was built, this sort of treeless moor out here. But it doesn't suffer from a lack of hierarchy like you might expect. This house just becomes this viewing platform for the natural environment and appears kind of temporary in a way. And so I think that this book is a really, fantastic exploration of ideas and with sort of mini vignettes on the architects that were involved in these projects. As I said, plans and renderings and beautiful full color contemporary photos, which actually show, kind of how these houses weather over time. You can see some were more successful than others. Ones that were built of CMU and brick tend to last longer than the homasote and plywood constructions. Made possible in part by the Cape Cod Modern House Trust, this book is really worth picking up. I think it inspires and educates in equal measure.